it's a blood plasma cancer, and I didn't know anything about it, but it goes through all your bones, and so your bones end up getting holes in them, and I had I think it was my right femur had like 3/4 of it was gone already, and I had the fast moving one, so once it started, it really moved fast. It reminds me every day that we're all terminal. We just don't know the date, And she gave me my needles. She was doing a lot of stuff every day, and she enjoyed the needle giving, by the way. she just that was her all them times you bothered me. Getting you back.
Take that.
When you know that the creator of the earth has got you, and that your next heartbeat and your next breath is really from him, all of us here. It's not just me, that he is in control. What they wanted me to do was, quit, retire, or resign, I should say, not let them fire me. And that's why I was like, well, I'm not going to lie to anybody. I'm not going to lie to kids. And so you need to fire me. If you ever go through anything like this, forgiving those people that you feel like are wronging you is really important. You're not coaching for state championships. You're coaching for life championships. All the stands are standing up, yelling PO1, PO1.
How do you punish a runner?
Push-ups. I can't thank God enough. I can follow him. I can thank him by following him, and trying to do what he's telling me to do, which again is serve people, love people.
Welcome to another edition of No Holds Barred. I'm Rich Roth, and my guest today, legendary high school football coach. You like that, don't you?
A little much. But
Doug Smith from the Appomattox, and I won't do it. Dennis does it. But the Raiders, and an unbelievable career. I'm going from memory here. 12 seasons.
Yes, sir.
120-32 was your record.
Okay.
Back-to-back 15-0 undefeated seasons.
Yes, sir.
33 straight games without a loss.
Yes, sir.
5 state championships and 4 VHSL Coach of the Year awards. What did I miss?
A lot of fun along the way. That was it. A lot of fun. A lot of great parents and great people.
I really appreciate you joining me. I know you sat down with Dennis a few years ago, but a lot's happened since then. And man, just one of the more interesting, fascinating people in the area. And I appreciate you taking a couple minutes for us.
Absolutely, this is great, and I appreciate you, Rich, what you guys do.
So let's dive in. I really got to know you and know about your story, because even though I've been in Lynchburg a really long time, I've made it pretty well known that I'm not a high school football guy. I like it, but I never understood, the putting it on the radio, all these different things, because I'm from New York, and things are a little bit different up there.
Yeah.
But just, I got a chance to know more about you and your story when there was the first ever Smith Strong Golf Tournament. And Dennis knew you real well and learned a lot about through that. But that was at a crazy time in your life where you were really going through a pretty big battle, which you're still fighting today.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
What are you willing to share about that, Coach? I know you're kind of an open book when it comes to all that.
Yeah. And I'll give you all the bad news. The bad news was it happened really fast. I started feeling it in March of 2020 and didn't do anything until September because, athletes feel pain and you don't worry about it. You'll get over it. And the pain got worse and worse until it was so bad I couldn't walk. I had to be taken to the cancer center in the back of a Suburban on this big cushion because multiple myeloma is a cancer where it's a blood plasma cancer, and I didn't know anything about it, but it goes through all your bones, and so your bones end up getting holes in them, and I had I think it was my right femur had like 3/4 of it was gone already, and I had the fast moving one. So once it started, it really moved fast, and near kidney damage and different things like that, were getting ready to happen. And so my wife, Susan, who's really has been this big, other than God's been the savior of my life for sure, because she just did so much for me and got me to the right places, got me at Duke and got me to the right people, and really the news that they give you early is the bad stuff. You might not make it. This is as bad as we've ever seen it, and without breaking a bone. And usually people that get this break a bone and then they find out that they have cancer. And so that's the bad side of it. The good side is after the radiation and losing all the weight and feeling like this is probably not going to be good and not going to last real long here, there was about 10 days of serious darkness, and I don't mean to get weird, but it was dark, and it was, I couldn't get an answer from God. I spent time praying and doing everything I thought I could do to get some joy or some peace from the situation. But I think there are times in your life that God kind of lets you go a little bit. And I think that's during that was what was happening with me, and kind of seeing what. Maybe my response. I knew the story of Job in the Bible, and I knew, you just got to keep hanging on and doing the right things and ask God to help you and be with you. But I couldn't feel anything, and it wasn't, like I said, I don't have much joy or peace. But about on the 10th day of that, and I didn't add to that. You really can't sleep during those days, and I was kind of delirious because you can't sit. You can't lay because every bone hurts, every bone, and the the picture of your bones will just show. It looks like Swiss cheese. Your bones have the holes in them. So you you feel that, and then you're not thinking right. The only position I really could get into, my knees didn't hurt and my elbows didn't hurt. So you think about what that position is, on your knees and elbows. And so there was a lot of time on that position where I would try to listen to God's word through an app and just pray and try to sleep, but you just couldn't sleep.
We'll get into this a little bit more coming up in a little bit, but obviously faith is huge for you.
Absolutely.
And you talked about that dark time where you get news like the news you got. It's only natural to really question your faith. What was that like for you?
Yeah, it was tough. Like I said, I had those few days in there where there was nothing, absolutely zero. And I didn't know where to turn, what to do. I had family there, people were around, but I felt lonely because it was just like, and the things that were coming in my head were things like, you're a loser. You haven't done enough for your family.
Wow.
Your kids are going to be without you. Your grandkids will never, do blah, blah, blah. It was went on. And so, when you're going through that, I think you think a lot about yourself. You're not, it's not, like Jesus on the cross was going through it all, and he's looking down thinking about his mom, John, take care of, your mother and taking, he was looking at other. And so for people, that's hard, and so all that stuff was going on. But one of those mornings, around the 10th morning, after the 5 days of radiation and losing weight, I remembered what Vernon Brewer, a pastor, had said to me, which he just had said to me this a little bit earlier, that you don't, that the doctors and the nurses are the hands of God. Don't listen to everything they say. Listen to what I say. Listen to what God says. And so that's where, when I remembered that in prayer, just out of nowhere, it just like God said, you know what, I got you. And immediately, I didn't have that darkness anymore. It was gone. And it was almost like Satan or his demons or whatever just said, all right, we're done. We're done. Because And I remember I was praying in Jesus' name. I was doing all that stuff. I was trying to think whatever I can do. But like I said, I think God lets us go sometimes to let us know, hey, when I'm with you, it can be great. When I'm not, it can be pretty bad. And so when I felt that him come back and give me that peace and joy, that's been 5 years ago. I have not lost that peace and joy since. And I've had a lot of worse days physically. In fact, I lost a lot more weight after that. Went to the stem cell transplant later, and had a lot of other little issues. But God gave me that peace and joy to let me know I got you. You're not going to have to worry about anything. You can be concerned, but don't worry. And if you're on this earth, there's a reason for it. And so if you're here, we got to get busy. It's time to work.
So you said every bone in your body hurt except your knees and your elbows. You couldn't sit, you couldn't lay.
Yeah.
But I rewatched the interview you did with Dennis 3 or 4 years ago.
Yeah.
And you talked about the fact that when you first went in, they were astounded that you had no broken bones or anything like that because of the nature of the multiple myeloma.
Yeah.
But one of your questions was, well, can I still get on the treadmill? Can I still do push-ups? And they're looking at you like you're crazy.
Right. And that was just before it got really bad. That was one of the first or second times right there in the over there at the cancer center. And and because you're losing weight, and it gets, as a man anyways, you're, especially a skinny man, you're looking in the mirror and going, this is getting bad. And I thought, well, the only way I've ever gained weight is to eat really well and lift. And they're saying, no, you can't lift. You can't do push-ups. You're going to break bones. Don't. The best thing we can hope that you can do is walk a mile a day if you can do that. And that gets pretty depressing to somebody that's been busy and always active and think about all your things you want to do and can do and you need to do. And I was thinking, man, I'm going to be retired to a chair and and like so many others. But again, you're thinking about yourself, and, so not good news. But again, God gave me peace and joy about all of that, and I didn't know where I was headed with it, but I knew He had me. So
you had mentioned the 10-day period of darkness, and ever since then, joy and peace.
Joy and peace.
And one of the things that I know is out there that a lot of people talk about is, when there are recoveries like the one you've had, mental attitude is such a big part of it. Having a positive attitude, feeling like you're going to overcome it, and obviously I would imagine it's impossible not to have those days where you're feeling sorry for yourself because it is a bad day or whatever the case might be.
Yeah.
But, do you feel like that, you talked about inner peace and joy, a huge part of helping you?
Absolutely.
I mean, you look great. You're up. You're active. You're doing all kinds of things. You're, you told me before we got going that you're going to have the cancer. It's never going to go away.
Yeah.
But here you are.
Yeah. So you have those days that where you still go through lots of issues, a lot of little problems, but when you know that the Creator of the earth has got you, and that your next heartbeat and your next breath is really from Him. All of us here. It's not just me. That He is in control. I read so much. And again, I read the Bible, plenty before the cancer. I think what happened is the light went on a lot brighter about some things, and opened my eyes to little things that I might not have been doing the way I needed to be doing them. And so I started praying about those, like, let me, this is a sin in my life. I need to deal with this. And God, showed me a lot of different things where I needed to improve, but I didn't know what my future was physically. I just knew that I had that peace and joy, meaning it didn't matter what was happening. I was okay with all of it. And I wasn't going to, oh, poor, pitiful me and all that. I was, hey, He has done so much for me. And I started thinking about all the great things He's done in my life instead of any of the negative stuff. So you're right. Keeping that right frame of mind mentally, definitely all the doctors will tell you that helps. I don't see how. I mean, I'm sure you can do it without God, but I think God is actually the one that's helping you do that, anyways. But to me, when your faith is in, a all perfect God that knows your next heartbeat, knows your next, knows where He wants you, what things you need to do in this life, the plans that He has for you. Having that faith, I think, is even more than any kind of mental thing you can, let me just think positive about all, because you're going to have, like you said, you're going to have your days where maybe that's not working, but not, getting up in the morning and reading His Word and spending time in prayer, that is a mental, that is a mental burst of energy for sure every day.
Legendary. I know you don't love that term, but you are. Legendary Appomattox football coach, and I guess former Appomattox football coach. And
Yep.
We'll talk about that in just a minute.
Yep.
But Doug Smith joining me here on No Holds Barred. The Appomattox community, the outpouring of support when this news, when you made it public, was amazing. And we'll talk about that in just a second. But the outpouring of support went way beyond that.
Yeah.
Other coaches in the Seminole District, outside the Seminole District, outside of Appomattox, it was incredible.
It was.
And so for folks who are wondering, where are you at now with your health?
So as of today, the numbers they give you when you do your blood work, which I just got blood work this morning, are kind of an indicator of where you are as far as how your cancers move. That's what they look at. And so the two cancers I have a cancer of the lymph nodes, and I have the multiple myeloma. And so they do tests for both of those. And the numbers have always been low. In fact, my white blood cell count was always, below 2, after the stem cell transplant.
Which is good. You want low numbers?
No, you want numbers above. I think it's above 4. I think.
Okay.
And these are talking billions of white.
Right.
And they just
right.
I don't know
the specifics. I was
exactly. But so the doctor here in town said, look, and he's a great guy. Well, the one I had earlier, but he told me, don't worry about it. It's always going to be low. Multiple myeloma patients always have it. Doesn't matter what we do. It's just going to be low. And these other numbers, plasma cells, protein, all that stuff's going to be, you're always, that's a fight, But we're going to make sure that you're under 5% of cancer in your body. That's kind of what they love to do. And so now the numbers are very similar to yours. They're over 4 and 5, the white blood cells. So it's greater than what he'd ever said that it would be. Not that he was wrong, but I just feel like there's no way I could ever thank people for praying. But the one thing I can say now is their prayers have worked, because I feel like I'm in my 30s again. I really do. I feel great. I feel like I lift all the time. I run. I do different things. I'm still coaching track and very busy at school and active with other things. And so that's where I am now. They tell me I have cancer. They tell me my numbers show that I still have it, but yet none of them say they're low. And so you have they put an L beside all the ones that are low. And it used to always be L's on everything, on both pages. But now there's none. You have maybe 1 or 2 that just barely under. But
so it's going to be a constant battle for you, right? I mean, this is something you said earlier.
Yeah.
It doesn't go away. You can't beat it, quote unquote. You never go into remission, but things are good.
Yeah, and I think unless God says it's over, and I've asked, just like anybody else would ask. I've asked God, please take this away, but. Same time, I think good race people live with such worse things even, and we're all in battles. We all have battles every day, and so many people you don't even know they're in battles, and they are. And so I don't feel like poor me. I'm in this. I don't look at it as a battle. I actually look at it as just part of life, and I know that it's going to make me a better person. It makes me. It reminds me every day that we're all terminal. We don't know the date, you know, and God holds that date, and I just ask God, you know, to continue to use me if he will, and if I'm good enough to be used, you know, not good enough, but just able to be used anyway. But I'm not, you know, saying that you know, that I don't want it gone. Like anybody, I'm asking God, you know, please take it away. But at the same time, it is not an issue. We don't talk about it at the house. We don't talk, you know, my kids don't talk, nobody really talks about it.
It's just Dad.
It's just Dad and Grandpa, or not Grandpa, but Papa Slim. They call me Papa Slim. Papa Slim. And that's the way I want it, you know, and nobody needs to worry. You be concerned and take care of what you need to take care of. But you think about it, people have things. People have to do things to, you know, to stay healthy. And that's all I'm doing. I'm just doing what they tell me to stay healthy.
I kind of gave your accolades and your record when you coached at Appomattox. So let's talk a little bit about coaching football.
Yeah.
What made you start?
Oh, man. It's a great sport. It's the sport that I've loved ever since I was younger. My dad was a coach. And I think, you know, as a son, you just wanted to please your dad, you know. And so started young, 5 years old, never stopped. And it was you know, contact. It wasn't like they have now, the flag and all that. So it was, you learned like that. And but all the way through, you know, it wasn't called Little League, it's called Boys Club of America back when I did it in Maryland. And and so high school, incredible experience in high school football. And then I had the opportunity to play at Liberty, and that went, you know, incredibly well, and I loved it and learned so much about coaching, about life there. And then became a coach there with Morgan Hout for 1 year, and then was able to go to William Campbell and coach there right after, well, I guess it was Ronnie Cox's last year there. And then at Heritage, and then at Appomattox. But that's what got me. It was what I figured out the first year of coaching was it wasn't about coaching football, and I didn't really like it in high school. I liked it in college, I think, because I was around a lot of kids that I was just playing with, you know. But high school, it was like they didn't listen. I didn't feel like they were listening. I didn't feel like I felt like I wanted to do it because I still wanted to play. And then it hit me when a young man that was a good athlete just didn't have it socially together. I was able to work with him, and I found out this kid needed a lot of help. Didn't have parents that, you know, didn't have a good situation. He lived with us for a little while, and we were able to help him, and not only help him physically but spiritually, and in a lot of different ways. And then when I saw the change in his life, that's when I knew, okay, coaching is a ministry, and that's why I really started loving it.
We'll talk about Appomattox in just a second, but I had heard the Heritage thing didn't work out, and a big part of it was the mentorship, maybe the FCA that you wanted to kind of bring to it, and that wasn't a fit for what was going on at Heritage. Is that the story?
Well, you know, the story is the same at William Campbell. There's plenty of things you can do as assistant coach. You know, you can meet with kids, pray with kids, do all that. When you become the head coach, it becomes a little different issue. And so there was never an issue, you know, until I was a head coach, and that's when it was a big issue. And when I'm not talking about, you know, telling kids, you know, that you know, you have to know Jesus, you have to, you know, nothing like that. In fact, it was more like, let's love the kids, let's take care of these kids because they are God's kids. You know, let's make sure we understand that. And then let's get them involved in any situation that can help them. And so we had youth pastors coming, working with kids at the practice field, at their positions, because they wanted to show, hey, we want to help these kids get better at football, but then build relationships with them in case they needed somebody. And that was incredible. That was awesome to have that extra help. plus have people be able to pour into them. You've heard of them as being called character coaches or coaches that are just there to help with any problems or issues going on. Well, these kids had outlets. They could talk to people, not just the coaches, but the other people too. And that, again, was never an issue as an assistant when I was doing JV or ninth grade or whatever. But when we were doing it as the head coach, it became an issue. And it was never said in my departure that this was the reason. It was just said that you're not doing what we're telling you to do. Well, that's what the only thing I was not telling them to do. And of course, they said other things that weren't true and made stories up. Even at William Campbell, they did. And I say that not to put them down. I just say that's just the way it is. They've got to get. There was so much support for what we were doing that what they wanted me to do was, quit, retire, or resign, I should say, not let them fire me. And that's why I was like, well, I'm not gonna lie to anybody. I'm not gonna lie to kids. And so you need to fire me, And the reason I just felt like I needed to do that because, again, they just wanted to say, tell the kids you're done.
If you quit or resign or retire, then you're basically saying what I was doing wasn't right.
Right. And that's what that would have been easier for them, And I don't want to get into all of the little things because because I don't want. I just want to tell you that there are when you're doing something for the Lord, I promise you're going to come up against opposition. And it doesn't always seem fair. It doesn't always seem good. But God's got you, and He's in control. And I can tell anybody out there that you either know what I'm talking about, or if you don't know what I'm talking about, if you ever go through anything like this, forgiving those people that you feel like are wronging you is really important. And I never held anything against any of these people. And the reason I didn't is because God was giving me that. It wasn't because I wanted to. I wanted to hold it against them, and I wanted to say things. But God had given me this peace and joy. Like, hey, it's good. It's okay. Don't let me do what I do, and He did. He did what He did.
And then you wind up at Appomattox, where they embrace this sense of community and everything that you
God knew in 2015 all the things that were going to happen in Appomattox. He knew that the team that we were going to have by then, that was 2012 when I got there, to by 15, the fourth year of football, He knew all those things that were going to happen, the deaths in the community and all that stuff that was going on during that time. And so the team was a little lifeline to the community.
That's a big part of your story, I think. So, if you don't mind, the different things that were going on in Appomattox, the deaths, suicides, if I remember correctly. A couple
suicides, some deaths, accidental deaths.
The tornado.
The tornado was that spring.
You rallied your team to support the community.
Yeah, I go back to that 2015 year because He did so much to show me, listen, this is what I got you here for. And it was very clear. It was not, when that 2014 season we lost, I think this first or second game of the playoffs, and it was tough to lose that game. We knew we were pretty good. The next year we weren't really sure, but we knew we wanted it bad enough. And just to get into that season with the things that just happened, the deaths and there were some really bad things happening just around that time. The only bright spot was the football team, who was winning, went overtime with Rustburg and won that game. And it's really close to overtime with Buckingham. No, I'm sorry, it didn't go overtime with Rustburg, but it went overtime with Buckingham. But really close games. And we were trying to really find ourselves. But the kids, in response to all of the interviews they were getting, was, hey, we want to do this for our community. We want to do this for God. God has done so much for us. We had some transformation. Kids that started this little Bible study in 2012 there, it was beginning to grow, and they began to play for different reasons. They weren't playing, because look at me, and we're the best. And it was more about The community's going through problems, and we want to do it for them. God's got us, and he can help us through all this stuff. And that's the way they were talking to radios and newspapers, and it was amazing to watch that. For them to get all the way to the third game of the playoffs, where they've always lost, they've never won past the third game of the playoffs, and to get to that game and which was Richland, and they had already won a few state championships, and to get to the 8 minutes to go in the game and to be down by 2 touchdowns, and we haven't scored an offensive touchdown the whole game. It looks pretty dark, And walking back the sidelines after they scored, I remember seeing a player take his helmet off. And I remember stopping and saying, okay, put your helmet back on. We never take our helmets off. We called timeout for this purpose, to get everybody together and say, we're not going to go this far and do all the things you guys have done, which has been great, to give up. You have 8 minutes left in this game. Life is not over here. And that was good for me, too. It was awesome for me to know that it's not over until God says it's over. And they prayed right there. A couple of kids took it. I think we may have had to take a second time out because I remember the guy was, one of the players was talking and praying. And then later, you get videos, and then we never heard this, but all the stands are standing up, yelling PO1, PO1, PO1.
All right, PO1.
PO1, which was the power of one God, and many of the community felt like, power of one community, and that's what it was for us too. But it was also came from power of one God, and I think about that too. They're chanting that, we're praying, and then those kids go on to win that game in overtime. And I still don't understand how it happened. Not when they pulled the chains out twice on one drive with their index card to see if we got a first down on a fourth down situation. So I just look back at those days and go, wow, God had a miracle happening for us right there.
Power of one, how did that start?
I'm in bed one morning, and I've always had a theme for every year, and it's always been family or trust or whatever,
Now, I was told that you don't do that on your own, that you work with the team to come up with something together.
Oh, yeah, we do. And but I'd been already talking to kids the year before. I think it was, I can't remember. I really don't remember what the year before was. I know we had forget about me, I love you. That was what family stood for. And so I had asked the kids to come up with something. Well, they hadn't come up with anything just yet. And I'm laying in bed, and it was a verse that we had gotten from FCA camp that said, when Jesus was being asked from the Pharisees, or maybe it was the people that could read or the Bible, whatever they're asking, which is the most important of all the commands, all the 10 commands. They were trying to trick him into something, find out what he could. And before he even answered, love God with all your heart, all your mind, all your soul, he said, the Lord God is one. And we looked at, the more I thought about that, I was like, he wanted to make sure everybody knew, before I tell you to love God, let's make sure we understand there's only one God. It's not your money, your clothes, you. It's not the things that we make, back then they would carve images and all that stuff. There's only one God here. And that was huge. And we were making sometimes football God. We were making our job God, or we were making girls or money, or, the kids were making other things more important. So we needed something to get us focused on him. And so this was the first year that we said, let's go ahead and it is after I talked to the leadership committee. I went to them and said, we ought to make our stuff based on God's word. All the kids in the leadership committee had just come back from FCA camp. They wanted the Bible study. They said, hey, can we make sure we have a team Bible study? They're the ones that came up with the team prayer on the way back from FCA camp. And so I said, one thing you need to do is probably make the theme Bible based, from God's word. We've got Muslims on the team. We got people that don't believe in God. And I just, I need other coaches out there to hear this too. That doesn't matter. What matters is that you're authentic to what you believe and what you do, and that you help assist kids in what they want, but not to, you don't do it to isolate kids. You do it to get kids help. And so what is God all about? It's about love, period. So you love all the kids, not just your little group, And so that's what helped us. It was that morning though that I was like, wow, there is power in making him the number one God. And so I had called a young man and I said, hey, I think we might have something, but I don't want to send out power of one and nobody know what that means. And I said, but I tell you what, let's go ahead and do it. Let's shorten it. Let's put PO1, and then let's you guys discuss it and then talk about it in our first FCA meeting that we have. And that's what they did. And so PO1 went out that morning to all the kids. I always send them notes, hey, weight room at whatever, and then PO1 after that. Of course, they didn't know what that was. Some other little crazy thing coach was sending out. It was some kind of play or something.
Well, coaches in all sports, all levels, will frequently have a theme for the season.
Yeah.
And it'll be on uniforms or on, swag or whatever.
Yes.
But very rarely does it catch on the way PO1 caught on in the Appomattox community.
Yeah.
How did that evolve?
Probably because of all of the devastation that was going on, and then PO1 matched Power One community as well. But now it's on the love sign, and it's on their uniforms, and it's sewed in their pants, and it's all different places. They have shirts at Walmart with it on Appomattox, and it's become, I think, for all the teams, Little League, and definitely the ones that don't know that it's Bible based, they look at it as a great reason, for, hey, we need to be one community here. We need to be together here, and not separate. It's not about me; it's about we. And so it really is a good team theme, regardless. But I think when you look about it from its origin, it's kind of neat too, knowing that where it came from. And I think that's with a lot of things, a lot of things do come from God, and it kind of changes as people change, in the world. But it's kind of neat how you know that when you hear it and you see it, and you hear, the radio stations even from Roanoke, hey, the P1 team from Appomattox, and you're thinking, wow, that's pretty awesome.
Pretty cool.
Yeah. Credit to the Lord.
Legendary Appomattox football coach Doug Smith, our guest here on No Holds Barred. And Coach, let's talk about the football. 5 state championships, 33 wins in a row, back-to-back undefeated seasons, 4, and I'm sure this means the least to you, but 4 Coach of the Year awards. What when you reflect back on it, what do you think of?
I just think of the grace and mercy and the greatness of God. That's what I do. I really do. I think of the great kids that we had. I think of the lives that I've saw, that was allowed to be a part of, the great families, the great parents, the other coaches, their hard work, the other teams that we got to play that we tried to give a lot of respect to and love on. Even after when you win games, it's we had many teams that we got to pray with in the field after games, and not to say, this is what if they wanted to do it, then they'd do it. If they did, and the kids always asked. The kids would say, hey, you want, and I just think back and think God was giving us a platform. That's what He does a lot of times. He'll give you a platform to use it to further His kingdom. I mean, there's no doubt we're all here, for a reason. And who's going to listen to a losing coach? Not many, And so why did you allow me to win, God? There's so many games I could go back to and go, we had no business winning that game. We had no business winning that game. But He allowed it to happen. It doesn't mean there was no Christians on that team. That's not true. But I think He knew the future of some things that were going to happen, and that this needed to, not needed to, but He allowed it to happen. Our kids definitely had to still perform and still do well. But I just think He gave me and our coaches and the kids the energy to work through some things.
It's pretty clear that football for you was a vehicle to help kids.
Absolutely.
Right. One of the things, and I spoke with Chris Dodge, your former athletic director out at Appomattox, and he said one of the amazing things he noticed about you was your ability to connect and relate with all the kids. And that is, I mean, when you're talking about high school kids,
Yeah.
I mean, please tell me, I've got one. How do you do it? I mean, but that was one of the things that stood out to him was your unbelievable ability to relate to not just most of them. He said all of them.
Yeah. You're always told in church and growing up and stuff, there's a gift all of us have. You got to find out what that gift is, and I'll be honest with you, it sounds kind of weird for me to even say, oh, you have a gift or I have a gift, but you definitely have to think, well, what am I able to do? And I think to be able to see kids, where they are and know that every kid is a child of God and every kid has the right to do well, to succeed, no matter what they're talking like or acting like or whatever. And that patience, God has given me a lot of patience with a lot of them. As a coach, though, you can't be on the roster if you're a cancer on the team. And so the kids that we did have to remove, and we had to remove a number of kids a number of times from the roster. And I say it like that because they were not removed from my phone. They were not removed from my text message or my calls or my visits. I try to make sure that those kids got as much love as the ones that are on the team still, because I knew that's the main purpose. I'm here. I'm not here just for this group. I'm here for the other kids too. And we had so many kids that couldn't play physically or whatever that you got to love on too and know that, man, they're just as important as the players.
Speaking of the importance of those relationships, tell me about 2020. COVID's going on, crazy time. You're battling right down at Duke quite a bit, to the point where you couldn't coach.
Right.
You were coaching virtually.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, I got a picture, and we're going to show it here from Chris of them holding up the trophy for winning a state championship, and you couldn't be there, but you were on Teams or Skype or FaceTime or something, but you were coaching and staying involved as best you could from afar. What was that like?
Well, I had great people, that's for sure. Coach Steve Costello, who's the head coach now, such a loyal young man to me, and it was always helpful. But then I had other people, of course, like Jay Wingfield and people that were part of the community that would, set the iPads up from, at the game and let me be like them on the sideline, be able to watch it from the sideline view and be able to talk to kids on the sideline from face to face, with a FaceTime or whatever. So it was odd. I remember all the way to the state championship game it was the 2020 season in 2021. Okay. And it was just after
Oh, that's right. They played in the spring, right?
They played in the spring. Yeah. And so I had this stem cell transplant in April 1st, and so I'm recovering during that time. And that's about the sickest you can be during that time, because all your numbers go down to about zero. And so they're just you're daily going in trying to keep you alive. And so I'd come back to my hotel there. Susan was there with me the whole time, and she was a tough girl. She's a tough woman. When I say that, I mean she was good for me. Yeah. You drop that, pick it up, pick that up. And I said, I can't. No, you pick it up, And she
so
was
that's more than the typical wife nagging, right?
Oh yeah, it was. You're gonna make it through this, and she gave me my needles. She was doing a lot of stuff every day, and she enjoyed the needle giving, by the way. she just sticking me. That was her, like, all them times you bothered me. Getting you back.
Take that.
Yeah, exactly. But she was so good to me, but she'd tell me, okay, it's almost game time. It's all, because I would be in my room pretty much out of it. And I'd make it to the little table we had there in the little hotel or the condominium, and it was all set up all ready to go. And I'd go and I had energy again. It was game time, and so it was amazing. I knew pretty much about the game plan. Offensively and special team wise. Defensively, I wasn't too concerned because Coach Costello was there and he had it all under control. But it was interesting how that was being done. They had people, they had the scouts up top and they had the people on the sideline. I was just another eye, and so, and could just send notes and text to coaches as we were going through, hey, this is what's happening, this is what I'm seeing. And so it was different, definitely different.
So while that had to help the players and the coaches, right, to have your expertise, it sounded like it really helped you too, in a really tough time to have something to look forward to.
It helped me a whole lot. In fact, at halftime, I would crash again, and I would come back the third quarter. But that was what's strange is how that one thing could get you back going again, and you'd feel like puking beforehand, and the next thing you know, you're back up and ready to go, and through the playoffs, it was interesting, and then the state championship, for them to see them fight the way they fought. Because I look back that game, that's another game. We probably aren't going to win that game if things just go a little bit different. And I look back to one significant play that if Bronson Williams ever hears this, he'll appreciate this, and his dad, Bob, his whole family would appreciate this. And they know exactly what I'm talking about. But we've got the ball on our own, maybe inside the 10-yard line, and we got a punt. And they had the momentum. They definitely were winning at this point. And I'm not even sure what the score was, but they had it. And we go to punt, and this is not a lie. He punted it all the way to the other side, meaning it was about an 80-yard punt.
Wow.
And it hit and rolled. The wind blew, so we got the wind out of nowhere.
It had to have a lot of help.
It had a whole lot of help, but it went way over his head, and the guy never returned it, and it rolled and rolled and rolled. 4 plays later, they have to punt, and we block it for a touchdown. And that's really that game. Now, we still had to stop them on the drive because that put us up, and then they had to drive, and they had to drive all the way down the field, and we struggled stopping them, but our kids played so hard. And so many of them said, Coach, we did it for you. But it was so fun to watch them work so hard, and all those coaches work so hard for something that they didn't think that probably could happen that year. But, so it was amazing to watch that year. Fun year.
So you're no longer the football coach in Appomattox.
No, but still
tough decision?
A very tough decision. In fact, there's days now I go, why aren't I coaching football? It feels so good. But one trip to Duke and one trip to Cancer Center reminds me, you couldn't be at practice today, and you wouldn't be doing this today, and you wouldn't be at camp today. And so
but you're still teaching.
Still teaching.
Still coaching. Still
teaching, coaching track. And honestly, there are times that I'm reminded you're not coaching for state championships. You're coaching for life championships, and that just keep your focus on that. There's kids, their lives are changing still, and so I can now again stay involved behind the scenes with football and help in the weight room, get things, and I work with a number of kids in the weight room on techniques and all that stuff. But then I also have time now to do the Fellowship of Christian Athlete, the FCA stuff with all the teams, which is, man, there's nothing better feeling than that, being able to not just do football, but to do all the sports. And that's what's grown our FCA club at school the way it is.
All right, we're going to talk about it FCA in just a second, but I've got to ask.
Yeah.
You go from a football coach to a track coach.
Yeah.
And nothing against track athletes. Okay. Very different sport from football.
Girls do.
So here's my question. In football and in most sports, guys get punished. You didn't do what you were supposed to do. You got to run.
Yeah.
How do you punish a runner?
Push-ups. Push-ups, up, downs. No, there are times, and again, Chris Alapurdy is the head coach. He had an issue, a physical issue that he had to go to the doctor at the beginning of the season. So I pretty much took over this past season at the beginning, helping him get through what he had to get through. And then when he got back, he said, I want you to stay on. I was like, well, I will. I'll keep doing it as long as, and then I just pretty much got sucked right back into it, and loved it. Mostly coaching pole vaulters, but working with all of them in the weight room. And
do you have good technique for pole vault?
Yeah. I coached track for 20 years.
Okay.
While I was coaching football before at William Campbell and at Heritage. So I had all that and had a lot of resources and a lot of good people that could help us. But yeah, it's a little different. They're not you don't do the same things. You don't, you're not. I don't know. It definitely is different. Yeah, the discipline is different. And working with girls is different. I don't put that on anybody. That's not an easy task. But I love, when they, and it's a culture shock for them because Chris is a new coach. I'm a new coach. So some of the older kids that were there, they got 2 football coaches now and coaching track. And it's not the same as having just a track coach that they had before. And so, we're getting them to do stuff that football players, and they didn't understand why we had to spend so much time in the weight room. And so that's been a little culture shock for them, but it's been fun to watch them grow. And they did well last year. And we're looking for great things here in the future for track.
Coach Doug Smith joining us here on No Holds Barred. And in the few minutes we have left, you've got an FCA shirt on. You've talked about how important an organization that's been for you throughout your whole career and maybe throughout your whole life. But right now in Appomattox, that's something you're really growing and developing. Talk about that.
Yeah. We have people from outside this area that talk to us about it. They'll call or they'll see us place and say, hey, how can we get that culture at our school? We love that culture you got. And the one answer I usually give them is it's not, as much as I love FCA, it's not FCA. It's not an organization. It's not even cliches or themes or whatever. It's Jesus. Get them Jesus and that culture will change. So how do you get them Jesus? You can't go in public schools and start preaching Jesus to everybody. So what is Jesus? He's love. He serves people, loves people. So you start there. You do for people. But then you get them, these camp offerings are out there all the time. FCA All Sports Camp, team camps, different things that are going on throughout the year. And you as a coach, you want your kids to get better, and so you have opportunities to go to these camps. So you get them to the camps, but you just don't send them to the camp. And I think that's where a lot of the coaches that want this stuff go wrong. You got to go with them. And by going with them, now you're in a camp that's a Christian camp where they're going to show you how, again, to live that life. And
so it's not just sending the kids there so they get absorbed in it. It's you need to be a part of that.
Absolutely, because when you send them, they get the idea you're just sending them, and it's not important to you. Not always, but most of the time. But when you go, not only does it look important to you, but you can get more people going too. You can get more, going, and there's money involved, so you have to do fundraising. But I was just going to say, when you bring some of those lessons back, right?
I mean, there's continuity there. It's not just they went, they learned something or whatever.
And you don't even know what they'd learned,
right?
But when they get back, you went through it with them, and you understand why they're telling you on the bus ride home, Coach, can we have this back? Can we do this? Can we do that? Yeah, you can do that. You can do that. In a public school, you kids can do what you want to do. We have to make sure we include everyone, though. And there's, like I said before, FCA we're not wanting to exclude people from anything, or any kind of organization that's Christian based like that. You want, what is God? He's love, and so that's what you should be doing. And so, someone shows up that is Muslim. And it's happened many times with me. I make sure I talk to the parents and say they might be praying today about 4 or 5 times during practice. Is that going to be okay? Because if it's not, I need to make this as comfortable as because we want this guy part of our team and our program. And the only answer I've ever gotten back, and this is at Heritage and at Appomattox, is, no, we want this because we like that there is some kind of faith.
It's the message.
That's the message, And so it's not, they like that. Again, I don't know if they always totally understand, what FCA is all about. And I'm not there to explain all that to them. I let them figure it out with the kids. But the kids do a great job including all the kids and never making anybody feel, and I think that's just important. You never make anybody feel like an outcast, and you make sure they're all included some way. If they don't, again, they're at the point now where the whole team pretty much comes to all of those after practice events. But if you have some that don't, that's not a reason to say, to isolate those kids, but to, still include those in everything else that you're doing. So because we give out stuff, FCA will give out things periodically, drinks or food or whatever, and you make sure everybody gets that stuff, So,
and I know you're really proud of how much that club has grown in Appomattox.
It's been incredible. And like I said, we have some kids that I don't know. I look at them and I tell them that they know this. I'll say, I think you're an angel. I don't even think you're real. I think God just sent you here because I've never seen a high school kid on fire like this before, and wanting to help people like you do and wanting to have a heart for people. And when you see it, it's like, this is a high school kid? I wasn't like that. I wasn't, it's just amazing. And so, that's what God can do in some person's life. But we have between 16 and 20 kids that are on our prayer team at the school that meet weekly, and they just pray for kids. They pray for teachers. They pray for things, good things to happen. We've had we've had now baseball just won the state championship, and we've had softball a number of state championships. We've had a lot of teams have done really, really well over the last, at least since 2015. And I'm not crediting to anything, but God's given us a platform, and many of the kids know that. We talk to them about stuff like that. I know some of the coaches don't talk to them about it, but the kids, when they meet with them in FCA, talk to them about that. And so I think people recognize it, kids recognize it, and it doesn't mean that we're better than people, and it doesn't mean that any of us are perfect. We're far from perfect. But it does mean we got our minds on hopefully the right stuff.
Coach, you're obviously a big believer that things happen for a reason.
Yes.
Right? You wound up in Appomattox for a reason.
Yeah.
Talk about that community and, what it means to you and just, just the community as a whole.
Yeah. I said before, I could never thank them enough, ever. I could never thank that. My sister said it the other day at a family reunion. She said, hold on, you understand, because somebody said, man, you're looking good. You look like you're doing well. And my sister said, do you know how many people have been praying for this guy? And it reminded me that not just Appomattox community and the teams and coaches, but other communities that have sent me cards and messages. And when that happens, that's such a humbling experience, knowing that they could be doing whatever and they've taken time out to do something like that. And it really is humbling. But you do realize that community is huge. It's big. It's very important. And I want to be a part of the community doing that for other people. I don't want to be, just take it. I want to be able to give it too and be a part of that. And so, I can't thank him enough. I can't thank God enough. I can follow him. I can thank him by following him, and trying to do what he's telling me to do, which again is serve people, love people, and do what you can for everybody. That's why that Smith Strong Foundation, that board is such a neat board. That Jamerson Favors got going and all that group, because they're out just trying to raise funds to help people, and I just look at that and go, wow, this is something I get to be a part of.
Yeah, and last thing that I want to touch on is that, right? The golf tournament a few years ago benefited you and your medical costs and all that, but it's evolved into the Smith Strong Foundation.
Right.
The golf tournament got moved. It's not in July this year. It's going to be in October.
Yes, I think it's October 9th.
But talk about how that's evolved and what it means and what the foundation, what it mean, not only what it means to you, but what it gives back.
Yeah, I had no idea, that it would become like it has become, but it's again a humbling thing to see how they not only took care of me that first year and all my bills were taken care of, just through that foundation, just the money that they raised, and not only for that year, but reoccurring, the years, because you keep on doing the same stuff over and over. In one visit, you've already met your out of pocket. It's amazing what the prices are now. Mm-hmm. So they were a blessing to me, and so now to watch them do what they're doing now. Each year they're raising funds for, first of all, they look at athletes and coaches, and they're looking to help out, first of all, kids that are not getting scholarships, that are doing great in school, that might need assistance, to get into school. And so they go through all these, they have applications for those, and they read through those and go through all that stuff, and they vote on that. But then they also help community members. They look for coaches that might be going through stuff first. Cancer. There have been other coaches that have had cancer, that they've paid their bills. They've met, their bills as well, which I think is really a cool thing. And then they've also, they do the, did I just say the scholarship stuff? Did I tell you that? Okay, no. So they go through the applications for those, and that's the scholarships for the kids for school. And that has been really interesting because it's grown every year, where I think last year there was, I want to say 8, 10, maybe 12, I can't remember, kids that got some type of scholarship for academics. That's a, I didn't even know that would ever be able to happen. When you're going through something, you don't even think about that. But then when they came up with that idea, like, wow, we could make this something that could be really good. It's been really fun. It's been fun to go back and have old players come in and play golf and see all the community people come in. It's just it's a great time to hang out and know that it's going to something to benefit people. And then to be a part of that, I'm just like, God, thank you that I get to be a part of this. It's just another blessing that God's been giving me.
October 9th?
I'm saying that date. If I'm wrong, I hope that's a Saturday.
Well, I'll tell you what. Call Faber.
Yeah, call Faber.
Call Faber and Falling River Country
Faber
Club.
Jameson,
and
Falling River Country
so
Club.
If you want to play, if you want to be a sponsor, if you want to donate,
please.
And it all benefits the Smith Strong Foundation.
Yeah, please.
Coach, thank you. Really appreciate your time.
Thank you, Rich. God bless you, man.